It it sort of seems like there's less room here than last time we were here. I think I'm getting pushed out. And it also seems more humid in here. It does. And I think that's because the plants are getting bigger and bigger and healthier. And I guess that's a good thing. I do like the idea that I can actually still fit in here, and that's good. But eventually, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just put a little tiny stick figure of me sitting here in the corner covered with plants. Welcome everybody. Welcome back to the Garden of Voo. My name is Ray. I am the host of this nonsense I call the Voodoo Garden. And this right here, right front and center, this is a common indoor houseplant. Can you name what it is? Do you know? It's called a dragon tree. Dragon tree or Dracaena if you want to get fancy schmancy about it. I don't get fancy schmancy about anything. This is a dragon tree. Now this is a common indoor houseplant. Yet, did you know that when they grow outside in their natural environment, they can get 20, 30, 40 feet high, and the trunks of these things can get so huge you can't even get your arms around them. It's incredible, and we tend to forget. We tend to forget that all of these plants that we're growing inside, they are just babies. Most of them are just babies of plants that you would see out in the tropics. So this is actually a very young plant. Yes, it is. I got it not too long ago, and I got it at Walmart. They had it on sale. And I always get my plants on sale. Now, the care of these is very, very simple, and I wanted to help you with yours. That way, I can show you how to grow your plants little by little, show you what I do, and if you like what I do, you can try it with yours. Some people don't know everything about plants. I don't. All I know is by trying and failing. So this one I have had lots of success with. I've had a few failures, but I have had a lot of success with this. And caring for them, easy peasy. All they need is rich, well-drained soil. Well-drained is the key. These can grow in smaller pots as long as they have enough food to supply their needs. I wouldn't say they have to grow in smaller pots. You can put them in larger pots, and I suggest you do it if you want to have a big healthy plant that you'll never have to transplant, because once these are about maybe this big, you don't want to be transplanting them because it's a pain in the butt and you risk harming them each time you transplant them. So this one I will be transplanting in the near future, but for right now I'm not going to be doing that. For right now I'm just showing you how I care for it. Rich, well-drained soil, bright sunlight, not necessarily direct sunlight. You could probably do it in direct sunlight, but these plants grow best for me in bright diffused sunlight, which is fluorescent light in here. They grow really good in here. So they grow good with those three things: rich, well-drained soil, good root space, and bright indirect light. Now, the only other thing that these things generally need, and I don't say need, I shouldn't say need, I should say want or enjoy, is to be pruned properly. Yeah, no, don't worry, I'm not going to cut its little head off. This is one of the plants that I don't need to cut its head off in order to make it look better. All I need is to remove a few of these leaves. And I thought I'd have you along to show you how I do it, so that if you want to try it with yours, don't fear, it's going to work out good. Have a seat. Have a seat right here, and let's get to butchering this. I like to say butcher because it sounds more dramatic, but we're just going to care for the plant. How's that for a close-up? Yep. There were two of these plants in the little pot when I got them. I separated them, transplanted them a little bit wider than they were before, and that's because I don't want them growing too awful close together. These trees, and they are trees by the way, they can be trained so easily. As they grow, they tend to have slender stalks. Now as they grow, you can tie a string or something and gently pull them to one side and put a little tension on them towards the tip up here, and that will tend to make them grow whatever direction you want them to. So if you want them to bend or twist as they grow, you can sculpt these, and that's a wonderful thing. Now I'm sitting right next to you because I don't want to be on this side of the container when I do this, so I hope you don't mind. Now as far as the leaves, these will have leaves growing all the way up the stem. Sometimes you will notice your lower leaves will dry up and die. You know what? That's normal, so don't worry about it. If you see your leaves dying, it's perfectly normal. It happens with every plant on the planet. Okay, now as far as taking care of these, there are two ways of thinking. The first way of thinking is leave as many leaves on here as possible, because leaves are the generator of energy for your plant. So the more leaves, the more energy it can generate. You know what? That's true. The second way of thinking for this is if you remove some of the leaves, what it can do is focus its energy on the top and grow that a little bit faster. You know what? That's true as well. Both ways of thinking are correct. You can do this both ways. Now me, I have always preferred to have a long, slender stalk or a thicker stalk, but a long, graceful stalk coming up, and then the display of leaves at the top. Some people prefer the full leaf version. Either way is fine. So for my way, what I want to show you is how to remove these leaves. You don't have to snip them off, and you don't have to worry about harming your plant. What you do, put one hand behind there. Now if you want to do it the way that I'm doing it, this is what you do. Place one hand behind it, gently hold on to it, take the other hand, grab the leaf at the base, and then pull down quickly and sharply, just like that. And you can pull this off. These can go into your little compost bin. Oops, sorry about that. I think I might have broken your nose. How to butcher plants and break your friend's nose. Now, how many of these you remove, that is totally up to you. Snap them down. Now remember, brace the plant because you don't want to yank it down and uproot it or snap the stem. So I always recommend bracing your plant, holding it with one hand, taking off the leaves with the other. This will bear the stem and give it a more graceful look. And that is something that I believe Dracaenas do better than most other plants. They give a long, slender, graceful stem. Now look at that. Now I'm going to back you up so that you can see what this is. And move your head up. Look up a little bit. What do you think? That's a beautiful look, isn't it? And as it grows and grows a little bit taller, when you notice more height at the top, every now and then remove a leaf from the bottom. Don't get crazy. What we want this to do is resemble sort of like a palm tree effect. These will curve naturally, and then you'll have this display of leaves at the top. Or, if you would like, you can leave it looking like this, and it looks more the effect of a yucca. Or, if I turn your head to the side, release you here from the tripod, it'll have more of the look of that. And that is perfectly fine, where you have leaves all up and down the stem. Now that one can also be done the exact same way. So it's all a matter of perspective and what you want for your plants. So I wanted to show you that. I'm going to do both of them this way, because that's just my personal preference. And it is a preference when you grow your plants, how you want them to look. These are items that we can sculpt, that we can enjoy, and as long as we give them the basic care, we can be a little bit vain, I guess, and have them look the way that we want them to look, and it doesn't harm their health. There. We have the beginnings of a beautiful, tall dragon tree. This is going to grow well. Now, as far as care, as far as watering, give these a good watering to moisten the soil all the way through, and then, very important, let it dry all the way out. You want to let this dry out, get a feel for how light it is. This is very light. Now, as soon as it all lightens up, like this, I want to give it a good, solid watering. Now, don't just water in the middle. Water all the way to the edges, because that's where the roots are going to end up eventually. So you want to water it all over. And there you go. You can see that water going right in there. That's because it's very thirsty. I wanted to make sure it was thirsty before I watered it so I could show you. And then you feel it when it's done. Now I have a drip tray underneath here. So if I have any runoff, it'll catch in this tray and I can tilt it sideways and pour it off. Or take the drip tray off. Learn how to water your plants. Trial and error. And I've overwatered these plants before, and that's why the drip tray is so important. You can take that off, let it drain out, and then get an idea for how much you overwatered it. Next time, don't water it quite so much. Okay, we're going to take this one out, set it off to the side. Let's go with round 2 with another plant. Oh, that was fun. Next one. Some of you may recognize this. People have asked me, viewers have asked me, Ray, have you ever grown a ZZ plant? Yes, a ZZ plant. Now, this is not the technical name for this plant. It is called a ZZ plant. And let's see, I don't have my reading glasses on. This is called a Zamico. Yeah, a Zamico. I'll probably put the spelling right over here where you can read it. Zamico. It is a plant that is so easy to grow, and for those of you who have a brown thumb, so hard to kill. Yes. So I thought, you know what? Gotta get one. Well, every time we go to Walmart, and that's the only store near me. That's why I mention Walmart so much, because I don't have a Lowe's, Home Depot, greenhouses, anything like that. So my selection of plants is quite limited. Otherwise, I'd probably have too many plants. So that's probably a good thing. But I go there about once a week to Walmart, and I always go by the plant section, especially in the spring. They're always renewing their selection, and I like that. This one was the only one there. And a ZZ plant can take so much harsh abuse, and I don't recommend you abuse your plants, but if you have a hard time taking care of plants, or you don't want to have to focus so hard on taking care of your plants, ZZ is the way to go. It is a beauty, and it can survive a variety of situations. Now, it's pretty evident that this is not just one plant. It started out as one plant, and yet it grows so well by sending out new plants all the way around. So I'm sure this started out as one plant, and yet, look at this. You always get more than you bargain for when you get these things. I have never owned one of these before. Isn't that odd? This is my very, very first time. The leaves are shiny. They are naturally, see, it looks like let me hold this down here where you can see it. It looks like somebody polished it up with leaf shine, right? Nope. ZZ is one of the few plants that looks like it's made out of plastic. It has just an earthly shine to it, and that is natural. Yes, it is. It's natural, and they grow beautifully. They don't require a lot of root space, although they will thrive with a lot of root space. They do appreciate medium to bright light, and yet they can grow in a room with hardly any light at all. Wonderful for those of you who don't have a lot of space, don't have a lot of light, don't want to have to deal with it. You just want a nice looking plant that you can just sit there and not worry about. And here you go. You can forget to water it. You can water it too much. It doesn't matter. As long as you have drain holes for the excess to drain out of, you're going to do just fine. Look at this. It is bulging out of the side of the pot. That is crazy. Now what I need to do, I'm going to be transplanting this, but not today. And this one looks a little bit peaked, and I don't know how healthy it is, but I can see at the bottom it had, no, this is just an old leaf. Okay. No, it's just an old leaf. It's not unhealthy. And that's a good thing, because I've never grown one of these, but I've heard that they're wonderful plants. And you know who I heard from? Viewers like you. Yep, I never even heard of this plant until last year when people started mentioning it. And I thought, you know what? I might try one day. And so I kept it in the back of my mind, and I saw one, and finally I got it. You know what? I have not done this, and I'm just dying to know. So I might as well do it while you're here. I want to see what the root system on this root-bound little beauty looks like. Oh, okay, well, there we go. Now we know. Look at this. There's a lot of roots going on down there. Now it is definitely going to appreciate being transplanted. And that's what I'm going to do. Look at this. These fat tuberous roots, these are experts. And what they're designed for? Storing energy. And that's why this can survive so many tough conditions, because like the spider plant, it has tuberous roots that can store a lot of energy. Now, if I were to put this in a bigger pot, these would spread out and grow and fill that, and I'm sure I would get a better looking plant in the long run. And I'm going to be doing that as soon as I turn off the camera. But I just wanted to show you this right off the bat. ZZ plant. Isn't that a beauty? If you have any questions, or if you have any tips on growing this, if you've grown one before, let me know. If you have any questions about any plants, let me know. I'm always here for you. Well, there is soil all over the place. I'll just mix that with my other soil when I transplant it. This is fun. I love showing new plants off, and I love going over their care to help people. That is one of the things that makes the Voodoo Garden really fun. This one, this little booger, you tried to help me identify it, and it turns out I identified it myself. And I do appreciate everybody posting comments. Some of you are very close on this. I had no idea what it was when it was young. Remember I had the plant identification program on the last episode? Well, this one has shown something a little bit different, which leads me to believe that it's not what we thought it was. And I actually thought the same thing as you. And this one is doing something rather strange that I've heard about, but I've never actually seen until now. I had some plants that I was trying to identify. This one was just a seedling last time. Most of the guesses on what this were focused on citrus. It was like a lemon tree or something. This is what that little plant turned into. As we can see, well, actually, let me hold this to where I'm not shaking. I'm trying to hold this still, but I never have been good at that. This is not a citrus tree. It's a vine. It's starting to vine. It's some kind of a pea vine, and I grew one in here, and I remember that. This is the exact same thing. I don't know what it's called, though, because I threw the tag away for the other one. So I do know it's a vine, a butterfly pea bush, pea vine or something like that. Yeah, I believe that's what this is. So I think we're done with that one. Oh, of course, you know what? It does need a little bit of water. Let me just go ahead and water with the tomato. There you go. We all share here in the Voodoo Garden. This is something I wanted to show you because it really dumbfounded me. Now, when you grow tomato plants, you can cut off a piece of it, put it in water, and you can root it and grow another plant. People call that cloning. I just call it taking clippings. You've heard about that, I'm sure. Well, what I did was I took one from the Praxis cherry in case you remember we're having soil issues, pH issues and stuff. So what I did was I placed it in here, and this is what it did in the last 2 weeks. See? I put the stem in there, and everywhere it's underwater, you can see it put out new roots. Wonderful. And then I could just put this in soil and grow me a new plant. Well, over here, don't worry, it'll survive. Now, here is just a leaf stem. This is not an actual stem. It's just one of the leaves that come off the stem, just as this is a leaf stem and not the main stem. This is the main stem. This is just a leaf stem. We don't cut off a leaf stem to root it. We cut off the main stem and root it because the main stem has a growing tip where it can continue growing. If you take this leaf off and put that in the ground, where's it going to grow? There's no growing tip coming out of here. So I thought, there's no way that you can root it. And I was always of the way of thinking that you can't root leaf stems. And people mentioned, I've done it, I've seen it. Well, here on the Voodoo Garden, you're seeing it live and in person. I put this in there because it was so big and beautiful. Look at that. Right at the bottom, it put out roots. The only problem is this has no growing tip. It's just a leaf stem. No buds are going to be coming out of this. And it makes me wonder, why did it just put out roots? What happens? And by the way, this is compost tea. I don't root them in just water. I root them in compost tea. It helps them a little bit better. Now, I'm wondering what's going to happen with this thing if I were to plant it in soil. I wish I had room in here. I'd like to try it, but will it just continue to be a leaf until the end of time? Maybe, I think eventually it'll probably die, and these roots are just one of those things that it'll grow roots, but it won't really go anywhere. Is that a hoot? That is 2 weeks worth of roots. I wanted to show you that because that was something that was a little bit different and a little bit odd. And of course, you know me, I like different and I like odd, and that's all part of the theme of the Voodoo Garden. There are some strange things out there, and we can enjoy all the weirdness out in nature as long as we look for it. And in your face, I got 2 more things that I want to show you, and this has everything to do with soil conditions or lack of soil conditions. These were twins. Yep, they were twins, and they're a type of plant that's called a China doll. And a China doll has leaves that just were stunning. Look at this. Look at the leaves on this. They're shiny, they're soft, they're beautiful, they're graceful. The plant grows beautifully. I found this for a couple dollars at Walmart. It's a very healthy, very happy plant. It was quite a bit smaller when I got it. Now I wanted to show you something because this one, well actually let me go with this one first. This one here, I planted in the soil that I was using with a lot of vermiculite in it. Okay? Now take a good look at this. You can see a little bit of it right here. The leaves are a little bit, showing a little bit of chlorosis if you look up close. Just a little bit. And the leaves here, the new growth, they're small. They're small compared to this. Even though they're new leaves, they're kind of small, aren't they? It's a decent sized plant, and it's got a decent amount of soil. It was in a very small pot, I think a 4-inch pot. And it's grown well, only it looks, when compared to the other one, like the leaves are smaller because, look at this. I'm gonna put these on here side by side, and I'm gonna drop the camera down so that I'm not shaking like a crazy old man, and you can compare the two. And there we go. 2 plants side by side. Look at the size. And size of the leaves on this one, both sides. And look at the length of the leaf stems. Now compare that, and even back here, these leaves are looking nice and dark, no sign of chlorosis whatsoever, new growth coming out all over the place, and yet, when we put it side by side next to this one, leaf stems aren't nearly as long, the leaves are a little bit more crunched up. This is the soil that was high alkaline. Yes, because it had all of the vermiculite in it. This one, I used pure potting soil mixed with coir, cocoa peat. There is no problem at all with the alkaline issue. This is more acidic soil, and that shows that this plant is enjoying a more acidic environment, more so than the other one with the alkaline environment. They're both growing, only this one shows a grace, a softness, and a vigor that the other one doesn't. So I wanted to show you that, the comparison of the two, and it does make a difference. It is making a difference on the plants that I'm growing in here, that I did change my soil structure. I am not using vermiculite again, not that it's a bad thing, but for my needs, I need a more acidic soil to help my plants reach their full potential. And this, yeah, it doesn't look like much. And trust me, it isn't much, even if you look up close. This, I compare to people showing you their baby pictures. If you have a baby, it is the most beautiful creature ever put onto earth. If it's not your baby, generally it's not the most beautiful creature you've ever seen put onto earth. This, to me, is so beautiful and so precious that I am just so thrilled, and I want to show you all of this stuff. And yet, to you, it looks like a whole bunch of cups of dirt. This is the beginning of my garden. And, oh, this one just came up. It's red and it's beautiful. What is it? Not going to tell you right now. This is gardening season. Yes, it is. These are all destined to go outside into the garden. I planted them last week, just 6 days ago. No, 5 days ago. 5 days ago. They're already starting to come up out of the ground, and I am thrilled. I'm going to go over this with you because this is something that's going to take place in the Voodoo Garden before it goes outside. I'll be showing you the plants, showing you their progress, giving you tips and tricks to getting the best out of your plants, and also showing you things that I might have messed up on in the past that I'm correcting in the future, so that as we go, as we grow, things can get better and better. This is going to be fun. This is a fun little addition. Although it's going to be temporary, it's going to be fun, and I'm going to save this until next time we get together here in the Voodoo Garden. I just wanted to show you a few little updates and some really cool things that I thought were kind of neat. For us gardeners, things can be so simple, and they can be so fascinating at the same time. Little cups of dirt, little plants that only cost a couple dollars. For some people who don't grow things, it means nothing. For us, it means everything, because it's something that can really brighten our day, can brighten our garden, and it keeps us sane in a world that's really increasingly weird and dumb and just flat out scary. I come into my room and everything's okay. Everything's okay. Okay, I got to get going. I got to put these back underneath the lights so they can stay nice and toasty, so that we'll have something to show you next time on our show and tell. I want to thank you for joining me here in the Voodoo Garden. I really do appreciate our time together. And if you have any questions concerning anything indoor gardening related, let me know. Post it in the comment section below. And since I did mention it, I'm going to have to mention it again. If you are growing a garden outside, maybe a potted garden, maybe a raised bed garden, in-ground garden, hanging garden, if you're growing vegetables this year, and even a few flowers, even edible flowers, yes, edible flowers, I have my little shop of seeds, and I am always there for you if you're ever in need of seeds. And if you don't have a lot of money to spend, check it out. Check it out if you have a minute. The link is below. And 2 days from now on the Praxis 55712 channel, I'm going to explain to you why I mentioned the little shop of seeds. It'll actually make some sense to you. It will. It'll be something that you go, oh, that's why he says this. This is something that you did not know. I'm going to educate you on something that you did not know about me. And some may say it's something maybe a little bit not so pleasant. Some will think, wow, that is something a little bit inspiring. Depends on how you look at it, I guess. You're going to have to check it out over on the Praxis 55712 channel. That'll be coming up on Sunday. But for right now, I got to get going. I got to close all this up, get the humidity going back in the room, because I have the door open because it was just a little bit too humid in here. I will see you 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks I'm going to be doing a program in the Voodoo Garden. Instead of every 1 week, I'm going to do it every 2 weeks. That way I could spend more time outside doing some projects that I need to get done. So in 2 weeks, you, me, here back in the Voodoo Garden. Sound good? All right, I got to get going. This is Ray and his plants. We are out of here.